Hey, it's Patrick O'Driscoll, co-founder and CEO of TVG, and in this video, I'm going to discuss whether or not you should be scaling ad spend or you should be figuring out these main metrics and KPIs, make sure they're dialed in before you go ahead and start scaling ads. At TVG, we help 7 to 8 figure e-commerce brands scale, and one of the big things that we have to do when we're working with a brand is make sure that our KPIs are dialed in. And all it takes are a couple adjustments to drive massive growth. While many brands just keep putting fuel on the fire to scale up revenue, we want to, of course, scale as profitably as possible. So I'm going to break down how you can scale more profitably before spending more on ads, and I'll walk you through my thesis based upon an audit of a brand that we recently onboarded and currently working with to help solve these problems. So let's dive right into it. All right, so what I have right here are some financial projections. Basically, I'm going to talk about solving each individual KPI, how you actually go about doing that, and why you should focus on this first before just scaling up your spend. Let's just talk about current. So I pulled these numbers here, and this is what I look at when I'm looking at a brand and how they're going about scaling online. So you have your top line sales, what's being reported in Klaviyo, what's being reported in ads, so like your Meta or your Google. What does your ad spend look like? How many purchases are of course coming from that? I can of course get your AOV from that. Now you can also get that from your Shopify if you just log into your Shopify, see analytics, see your AOV, and then I can see your ROAS, which is the direct return on ad spend, which is ad revenue divided by ad spend, and then you have the blended ROAS, which is top line divided by ad spend. Now, why do I look at this? Well, we look at more so the cost per acquisition over ROAS, mainly because of tracking and stuff like that. And we look at the e-commerce marketing side as more as an omni-channel growth strategy. Instead of looking at it by individual channels, the issue that happens there is you're looking at everything in silos. And the issue is blaring here. If you see ad revenue plus Klaviyo, obviously that is actually way more than sales. That means that certain platforms will attribute sales and overlap, right? Google is actually known for this. Google, I feel like, is the most aggressive in attributing sales to the Google channel. So you might see Google and Facebook attributing the exact same purchases. And that's why I want to look at more of a blended so I can see our true profitability from top line revenue divided by ad spend. Okay, there's a few things that were blaring out to me. Let's just say for this example brand. First things first, 59,000 sales through Klaviyo. That comes out to, if I just divide what's that for top line, that's 20%. Okay, 20% is not awful. I've seen brands that are much lower, sub 10%. I really want that to be between 30 and 40%. So if we just figure out, okay, what's going to be 30% look like for this brand? See if I can do some spreadsheet math here. Okay, 85,000 here. Okay, so what I want to first figure out is, okay, we see that the Klaviyo revenue is 20%. I really want to get that to 30 to 40%. The other piece here is the AOV. So just by a quick audit of his brand, the correct decision right here, although like, let's say they break even, realize like a 1.3, 1.4, like yes, they're profitable on the front end, but I want to unlock more profit. So how would I do that? Do I fight to get the CPAs down? Because CPAs are technically like sub $20. Like yes, you can try to get it down $1 or $2 and 100% that will be a focus. But what's the bigger play? What can drive more growth? What's higher leverage? And that is figuring out how we increase average order value. Average order value is of course the average that a customer spends with you. So you get 10,000 orders and it comes out to $40 per order. So some customers might spend $100 with you, some might spend 20. The averages tells us what is the average order that customer is spending with you. And so how will we go about solving AOV? There's a few things that I'd want to do. The first thing is I'd figure out, can we test a new offer that's higher cart value? This includes adding bundles, freebies, giving incentives for free shipping. How can we bump people over the edge to just naturally buy more? Even just a 10% increase, which I'll go over today, 10% increase in AOV has massive impacts on your ad profitability. And that's why I look at first, how can we increase that? A few other things you could do: implementing cross sells, upsells into your sales process onto your Shopify. There's a variety of apps that are out there that you can implement. So basically, whether it's free shipping or, hey, just spend $5 more, you get this free gift, right? There's ways to do that. So it incentivizes people throughout the conversion process to actually add more to their cart. So this is something that's blaring to me. The email thing is something I think I can implement pretty fast. Okay, so we know that average order value is an issue, but let's go back to the email side. As I see email being at 20%, I'm going to look at the flows of campaigns, how much revenue is being driven through those two sides of the email side. So flows are obviously all your automations, your welcome flow, abandoned cart, etc. And your campaigns are those one-time blasts. If I see that majority of your revenue are coming from flows or campaigns or vice versa, I need to make sure we double down on that strategy. Generally speaking, it definitely varies, but I want them closer to 50-50 on flows and campaigns, maybe 70-30, vice versa, but really 50-50 is closer to equal, just so I know I'm getting the most out of my email marketing. So if campaigns are lagging, I'll need to double down on my campaign strategy. If flows are lagging, I'll have to double down on my flow strategy here. Now you can see here that I keep paid ads constant. And I say, what if we were able to get email up to about 30%? Right? That goes from 59 to 91,000 there. Again, I'm keeping things pretty constant here, right? And there's a few variables here that come into play. Obviously there's some overlap, but I think the right decision here is to double down on the email side and figure out how we can increase average order value. As you can see, this is some rough metrics, rough numbers, okay? Just to kind of paint the example here. We can get way more into the nitty gritty of actually forecasting this out. But if we're able to get like 30%, right, of email, okay, we're up to 91,000. The ad revenue stays the same. The ad spend stays constant. The ad purchase is, we're just keeping the ad spend all constant right now. You can see that the ROAS, of course, stays the same because we kept that constant, but the blended goes up to 1.96. So we just immediately unlock more profit by doubling down on email because, of course, if you have an email list and people are coming through, you're getting more from your ads. You're getting more from that customer list that you already own, okay? Now, let's say we go pretty drastic and we're able to get email up to 40%. This is pretty aggressive, right? Usually what we like to be at a sweet spot is 30 to 40%. If we're like 50, 60, 70%, that means we're not getting enough new people or cold people in the door. That means you're basically just purely dependent on your current customer base, and we really want to make sure that there's a good level of new people coming in as well as retaining. So I like to be between 30 and 40% generally, depending on the brand that we work with. So we're able to get that up to 130,000. Then of course you can see the blended ROAS gets to 2.09, which is quite substantial, and that's with keeping ad spend constant. So we've scaled profitable revenue without scaling ad spend, because that's the first thing I want to figure out. Now, the other thing I mentioned is the average order value, right? So let's just say we're able to increase average order value by 10%, right? 10%, which is definitely will take some time to get to, right? You have to test different offers. You have to figure out the upsell strategy. And you have to make sure this obviously doesn't impact your ad conversion rate, right? If you have a winning offer at $39 and you start to test like $49 and you see that there's some drop off or the ad performance dips, of course you have to test everything, right? This is theory, but this is how I go about scaling your brand. So we increased average order value by just 10% here. You can see the ROAS, right? Same exact ad spend goes up because of course we're generating more revenue from the same amount of purchases, and that generates 280,000. That gives us a ROAS of 1.80. The blended ROAS is at 2.56 because now we're combining the efforts on the email side with the average order value improvements, and now we're way more profitable, right? If you just see here where we start at 1.82 to 2.56. Okay, now we're in a much better spot with the same ad spend. Okay, very important here. Now, even best case scenario, absolutely insane. We're almost up to a 3x blended here. We're able to get 40% of revenue through email. You can see these numbers here. You can see the average order value is up by 10% as well. You can see the ROAS is the same as this one, of course, but now since we have 40% email plus a 10% increase in average order value, our blended ROAS is at 2.99. Now let's move to the far right. Now that I know that these numbers are within KPI, my average order value is up by 10%, and maybe we're continuing to test to continue to improve that, and our email is at a 30 to 40% rate. Now we can figure out what it would look like if we start scaling ad spend. So let's just say, we scale pretty aggressively month over month. We go from 150,000 spend to 200,000 spend, right? You can kind of look at the math here. Of course, 1.80, we're keeping these things constant, the new AOV. Now we're all the way up to 500 grand in top line, and we started at 283. Pretty crazy how just a few adjustments and few focuses on certain KPIs can pump top line without necessarily increasing ad spend by a lot. We only increase ad spend by just shy of 50 grand in this example here, right? So I said, hey, let's say we spend up and we scale. This is what top line would look like. So we nearly doubled, just shy of doubling the top line revenue by selling more product to our customers, increasing that average order value, and making sure our email and SMS is absolutely dialed in, right? So this is about 30%. So this is why I'm so just concerned with first, before scaling ad spend, are we first making sure that we have the other parts of the bucket? Are they patched? Are there leaks in our bucket? Because spending ads, of course, that's going to cost you more money. Is there ways that we can get more out of those customers? Can we get more out of our customers based upon our current spend? And the ways to do that are increasing average order value and doubling down on your retention, which is email and SMS. So hopefully this opened your eyes about the right way to scale brands without just pumping more on ads, and first figuring out, and I encourage you to look at all your KPIs right now. What's your average order value? What's your cost per acquisition? What's your lifetime value? Know these main numbers, because then you can make really data-driven decisions and then say, hey, this quarter we're doubling down on email and SMS. This quarter we're doubling down on increasing average order value, and we're going to do conversion rate optimization. We're going to test landing pages, we're going to test offers, and we're going to test upsells to try and boost that. Because a lot of times advertisers and marketers will say, oh, you're profitable, let's just scale ad spend. But that kind of just puts a band-aid on it and just puts more cash out the door, where you could have been getting a lot more if you had email and SMS and your average order value in a better spot. Now, of course, I want to get this average order value north of 50, right? This is a 10% increase, right? These are minor improvements. If you can get your average order value from like 40 to 50, that has massive impact for your business. So hopefully this opened your eyes. Let me know if you have any questions. If you want me to audit your numbers and create a growth plan just like this, figure out where you're at, I'll leave a link down below to schedule a call with myself. But please reach out with any questions, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Take care.